Hi, I'm Louanne Midgley from Tell Your Story Videos, and this is Shop Talk. Today I'm going to be speaking with Jaime Bell. Jaime is a lawyer and entrepreneur, and she's created a company called Contracts Market, where she offers customizable legal contracts affordably and in plain English. Jaime, I'm so looking forward to speaking with you. Jaime, why did you create Contracts Market?
Great question. So Contracts Market was started for two reasons, to be completely honest. The first is because out of my law firm, I was helping entrepreneurs with basic contracts in their business, and I was repeating the same contracts over and over again. And I was also hanging out in the entrepreneurial space, listening to podcasts and all those kind of things. And something that often comes up when you're listening to business podcasts is you can't scale very often as a service provider. And if you're looking to do something that helps you scale, what are you doing over and over and over in your business? So Contracts Market was born out of the want and need to help entrepreneurs get great contracts in their business at a more affordable rate, because I was finding I was constantly turning away business in my law firm for entrepreneurs who are in the beginning steps of their business and didn't have $1,000 or $1,500 or that kind of money to spend on a customized contract. And to be honest, they didn't really need it. I had their business often when they're starting out in the world that I'm working in. It's a client services agreement, has a lot of really standard terms across the board. So Contracts Market was a way to kind of scale my law firm, offer better contracts than the free ones you'd find on the internet at a way more affordable price, and also kind of scratches my itch for wanting to be in the entrepreneurial world.
Yeah, it's a really interesting business that you have, and you definitely are filling a gap for sure. As a small business owner myself, I'm really interested in what you're offering and what you're selling on your website. Lots of different contracts there for us to look at. What are some of the must-have contracts that any kind of registered business needs to have, and then maybe what kind of questions should a business ask themselves as to what kind of contracts they need?
Yeah. So the first one right off the bat is, it's kind of my, lack of a better term, gateway drug to contracts, is if you have a website, you 100% need a privacy policy. That is the law in Canada, in the US, and across the world, really. So if you're collecting any kind of personal information from anybody, whether that's email addresses or you have cookies that are collecting information on your website, you're legally required to have a privacy policy. So, and with that, website terms of use. So how can people interact with your website? Those are all contracts, even though we don't traditionally think of them that way, because it's setting the ground rules for how you as the website owner are interacting with your users to your website. So that's, the baseline of, if you're launching a business, you should have a website terms of use and privacy policy, because we are getting stricter and stricter privacy laws that are coming forward. Then the second contract that's really important is, I'm a big believer in spending money on things that make you money in your business. And typically for the kind of entrepreneurs I'm working with in my business and through Contracts Market are service-based entrepreneurs. So those would be like copywriters, graphic designers, virtual assistants, I said copywriters, but graphic designers, those one-on-one. So I think it's really important, especially if you're starting your business, to have a client service agreement in place that helps you determine what your policies are going to be for making money in your business and how that client relationship is going to go. So I recommend that if you are really starting out and you don't have money or a budget to buy a client service agreement or hire a lawyer to draft one for you, I really want you to sit down with pen and paper or your Google Sheets and think about the things that are really important within your client relationship to map out about the procedure of working with you. So how do you collect money? What are the services you're providing for the actual fee? What aren't you providing for that fee? Ownership of intellectual property, like the deliverables that you're uniquely creating. Who owns those at the end? What can your client do with them? What can't they do with them? All those kind of things. It's a really important thing to consider about how to build out that client relationship and process. And a contract does that for you in writing. So I'm a big believer in client service contracts that are tailored to the industry that you are operating within, because if you're a virtual assistant, for instance, it looks a lot different than a project-based, like if you're a website designer who's on a project base, because you might have retainer payments and a lot more confidentiality requirements and things like that. So just thinking about what's different about your area and your client relationship with the people that you're serving. So that's a big one, is getting that really dialed in, because the longer you're in business, it's not when or if you're having a problem, it's going to be when it happens. And it doesn't have to be this big blow up. It just could be, payment that's delayed, or confusion around what they can do with those deliverables that you're creating. So I think my whole ethos for contract market is getting things in writing and being really clear about expectations from the get-go with whoever you're doing work with, whether that's your contractors, your clients, whoever.
It's interesting. I'm listening to this, and it's like, what are some of the obstacles then that people would have, such as small business owners or service providers, in not having a good legal contract in place? What do you come across when you're first meeting someone who's looking for a contract?
Yeah, the first thing is it's really hard to enforce a contract that doesn't exist. So when there is confusion, because you and your client just might be talking different languages when it comes to expectations about how your client process is going to go, or what they're paying for, you might be on totally different pages because you're speaking your, web designer language, and they're speaking their, I don't know anything about web design language, but this is what I know I need. So it's just figuring out that. So I often, in service-based businesses, a difference in expectations, and that's where scope creep happens, where you are, as a service provider, providing way more than what you initially agreed to. And that's where business owners, I see most often, start getting burnt out and resenting the work that they're doing for the clients that they're working for, because they're not getting paid what they thought, or that one little call always turns into one more little project or one little add-on. And getting really clear about that is really important, from like a liking the work that you're doing perspective, but also managing your clients and your workflow. So, and then payment, obviously, you want to make sure that's pretty dialed in. And I see, especially people starting their businesses, that they are hesitant to collect retainers up front, or think that they need to bill everything once, their client has signed off on their work and they're really happy with the work. And it's really hard to chase money from people and get them to pay, and you've already done all this work. So I'm a big believer in collecting retainers up front, having milestone payments at times that deliverables are sent over for review, and really mapping out your client journey and then putting it into contracts so that everybody's happy at the beginning, middle, and end of that relationship.
Makes total sense. It really does.
Yeah.
From a business perspective, and maybe you need more than one agreement, one contract. How do you cover that off? Several needs from a business.
Yeah, it's just really looking at the kind of business that you're having, and different businesses in different stages have different needs. So if you're starting out, it might just be website terms, privacy policy, and a services agreement, because you're a one-person show and you're doing everything. But the moment you start exchanging value, or someone's helping you in your business, like you're hiring an employee or a contractor, it's a really good idea, like very good idea, to have an agreement in place for that. And knowing the difference between an employee and a contractor is really important. And then just any time that you're exchanging value, or there's an expectation that someone's going to do something for you in your business. I'm seeing this a lot with affiliate marketing and influencers. Brands, small brands, sending out hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not thousands of dollars worth of free product to influencers, and then influencers not doing the posts that they want them to, or talking about it the way that they want to, and the small business just kind of feeling like, hey, I sent you all this product, you're not doing anything with it, but they never had an agreement setting out expectations for that. So anytime there's some kind of value exchange, or you have a partnership, you're doing a contest where you're exchanging, your course for someone, combining your businesses in any way, just sometimes an email is suffice, but something in writing is always good. But if if there's a bigger value exchange or more expectations, I do recommend a contract for that.
Mm. Looking at me personally in my business, and what you offer, I've seen a few contracts that have piqued my interest for sure. What would you kind of suggest, just as top level for a business like mine?
Definitely the service agreements in place. And like, for instance, I have a brand photography agreement. I used to have just a regular photography, but I'm kind of tweaking that right now. But it could be used for videography because it's pretty much the same, like you want to have setting out services, timeline for deliverable, all those payment plans, what they can use your video for, what they can't, and those kind of things. And then I do have a podcast host agreement. So that would be something that you send to all of your guests. And that's just a good idea to have because it kind of sets the tone for you take the podcast seriously. I mean, for your guests too, like I've been asked on podcasts before and, they cancel at the last minute or something like that. And you're like, oh, but, we're trying to respect each other's time. And with how fast podcasts grow sometimes, or our cancel culture, can people request that their episode be taken down if they say something and they don't, or the podcast gets in hot water or something and they don't want to be affiliated with that brand anymore or that podcast. We're seeing that a little bit. So it's just saying, no, you as the guest can't request this be taken down, or yes, you can. It's those rules, and maybe you'll respect their request at that time. So, again, just setting out the relationship. Also, podcasts are commercialized and podcast hosts make a lot of money sometimes. And so just confirming with your guests, like, yes, I'm paying you for this episode, because some people do charge to go on podcasts. Or no, I don't. And no, you don't get royalties if, I become a vitamin gummy sponsor or something. We make lots of money off affiliate marketing. No, you're not entitled to any of that. So just, again, setting out the relationship.
Yeah, great point. Great point. Thank you for explaining all that. And I will definitely be looking into some different contracts with you, Jaime. And thanks a lot for coming on Shop Talk today. I really appreciate you taking out a few minutes of your day, your busy day, and explaining everything that you do with Contracts Market.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.